Come along. Great to have you here. If you're new, let us know in the chat where you are. What are you up to when it comes to the world of property investing? Because that's what these Wealth Coffee Chats are all about, folks. Morning, Rosie. Good to see you. Up and at it. Nice and early. Excellent stuff. We've been doing the Wealth Coffee Chats for a little while now. And each weekday we get together about 10 past 8. Have a conversation, have a pontification, an opinionation. I don't even know if those words are real, but, we talk about the idea of creating some future wealth out of your property investing activities and trying to stay on track. Thanks, mate. Yep, got the old haircut sorted for on the weekend. Thanks, Brendan. Luke, good morning, mate. Good to see you. Each day we get together, try and stay on track, folks, with our property investing. So that's what the Wealth Coffee Chats is all about. Try and sort out a bit of fact from fear, a bit of fear from fact, and maybe see if we can make a little bit of sense of things that are going on. So welcome along. Great to have you here, and thanks for joining this morning. Thought we might talk about a little bit about this morning. The idea that there's a few, there's some elections coming up. The politicians are winding up, and the conversation around the good old negative gearing and capital gains tax. It's quite annoying, really, at the end of the day, that as an investor, that the government, the politicians, play with your wealth. Really, it's quite abhorrent and disgusting, to be quite honest. The things that happens as you and I, as citizens, we go to work, we follow the rules, we pay our taxes, we do our things, and then, in the future, some muppet decides that, they want to change the rules, change the rules that we've been following, and then penalize those who've been following them. Anyway, it gives me the shits. Hopefully it gives you the shits. That's why I think you should understand who you're voting for. At the end of the day, I'm not very political. I think they're all a bunch of muppets. None of them are very good, to be quite honest, quite frank. I think we've got a bit of spineless leadership in the country and maybe even the world. But that's not what this morning's about. This morning's about us as property investors and what's going on. How do we navigate things and negative gearing? Well, will they mess with negative gearing? Who knows? The government that's in certainly likes to lie about things that they aren't going to do or are going to do. But what happens if they do? Well, let's have a little look at that, because really at the end of the day, folks, that's probably what we need to, we need to understand, right? So, you vote, you've got an individual opinion, you've got an individual voice to cast. You go and do that. Make sure you do it, for your, for your thing. But, can you control it? And then the answer is no. You can't control the marketplace. You can't control this lot. So, what do we do about that? Morning, Dave. Hey, Jeff, good to see you. Scott, morning. How are you? Yeah, Jeff. Well, I think, anyway, there you go. It goes round and roundabout. So, folks, listen, let's have a little look at what's going on here. Labor wants to change the negative gearing, supposedly. They're saying they're not going to, but, there's some pretty interesting things. So, going to an election with, a claim that, okay, let's make, home ownership 75% by 2035. This stuff, and unfortunately, those who, even just for a second go and find out a few things about what's really going on in the world of housing, that's not going to be possible. It's not going to be possible. And, that's a thing that, why would you vote for someone where they're saying they can't do anything that's possible? Anyway, there's a bit of rhetoric going on about this, for you and me. What are we going to do about it? Like, how do we navigate things? What do we need to understand as investors to make sure that we can we can navigate this. Now, give me a second. I'm going to plug something in that I forgot to. But, you know, for you and I, what would happen if negative gearing changed? Put it in the chat for me right now. What do you reckon would happen if negative gearing changed? Like, you know, just have a 30-second think about it. You know, anyone would the medium to long term issues that are going on right now, you know, what would happen? You know, yeah, there is a lot of MPs with investment properties. You're dead right, Justin. That's for sure. Yeah, 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 and that's right. They're just chasing votes. But yep, rents would soar, property prices up, less supply. Like you're dead right. Like I mean, this is the thing now. Oh, it confounds me, but anyway, that's where we are. And really, at the end of the day, you know, if it did happen, how do we navigate it? You know, what's going on right now? If you have a look at, you know, here's another Muppet that's out there. You know, here's the solution. Let's pay 1,000 public servants. Right? Are you fucking kidding me? Let's get 1,000 public servants to go and, you know, do something that you know, enforce renters' rights. Like, you know, now at the end of the day, I'm not against making sure that people are looked after, and they should be. I'm not against that at all. But really, at the end of the day, you know, this is it's pretty ludicrous, their conversation. Anyway, it's interesting. Check this out. You know, who's out there getting the best of negative gearing? Well, the high income earners, and you know that's the way it is. Nothing wrong with using the rules to advance yourself. That's the point. That's why we have a, you know, a capitalist, democratic country, which by and large is pretty good. So let's keep rolling with it. You know, there's the high income earners get to benefit that stuff, which is, you know, what happens in this process where if you can borrow, you can buy assets, you get access to good advice, and you know, away you go. So what would happen if they get rid of negative gearing? Well, if they're trying to improve housing ownership, well, you know, the government, and they're having a bit of a crack at the banks right now, but the government doesn't control the lending, right? They don't control lending and the cost of lending and managing inflation, and try to make sure that the economics of the country are managed well. You know, what are the government doing right now? Most of them have got spending programs that you know, are fueling inflation right now. I just saw that Queensland just doubled the first homeowners grant. I was just chatting with my daughter on the weekend. My son bought his property, his first property a little while ago. My daughter now is looking at hers, and you know, it's like, hey, here's fantastic, right? Let's go. You know, the government's going to give you $30,000. You know, double the first home. Concessions, probably even some lending options. Like, let's go, darling. Let's get into it. You know, it at the end, I will advocate for opportunity. All right, are we back now? There we go. Let me know if we're on, team. It said it just fell out. There we go. Looks like we're back on. So yeah, we've got a shortage we have an issue with lending right now. It's thanks, Nintendo. We've got an issue with lending right now where to be able to borrow, people are struggling. To be able to construct, we've got the most building companies and builders going broke in history. No one's talking about that. No one's talking about let's save the builders. You know what you need to do? You need to save the builders or make it simple enough for the construction businesses to be able to build some properties, to employ some people. It's ludicrous. They're looking in the wrong place. They want to go and penalize and tax property investors. But you know what? Here's what's going to happen. So if you increase the cost, of anything, which at the end of the day, and here's the interesting thing. If I could wave a magic wand and say, right, let's get rid of negative gearing, I would. Why would I do that? Well, other than the full malarkey of the issue of the whole thing for property investors, on the other side of it, you would be charging an appropriate amount of rent that would be positive cash flow on the property because there's no other mechanism of owning the property. Would it drop rents? The answer is no. It won't drop rents. It won't force property investors to sell. It might force a few of them to sell, because of affordability. But what would happen? Those investors would leave the market. Would there be any other investors come into the market and create new property into the future? The answer is no. So if the costs go up, then the question mark is like, would we get more properties to market? And it might happen slow, but then it would go down because the supply is brought on by property investors, folks. And this is the thing, Sonia. The only thing that can make rent slow down or grow slower or be less expensive in the future, and it's always going to go up over time because inflation and other things, is supply. Folks, the only conversation is supply. Only conversation is supply. How do we get supply up? Right? How do we get supply up? Now, let's say capital gains tax. Let's say, we're taking away capital gains tax. So 100% of the gain is taxable. Now, tell me in the chat, folks, right now you get a 50% deduction on a capital gain. If you don't have to sell the property, if there's no reason to sell, you're not forced to sell, what motivation are you going to have now to sell? It's going to make it worse. You won't sell it. Why would you sell it? Now you have to pay tax on 100% of it, right? So they're going to make lending easier or whatever. You'd be able to access the lending. Your rents would go up. No one would sell if they didn't have to because capital gains tax now is 100% of the gain, not 50%, which is ludicrous, right? Anyway, maybe common sense doesn't apply in the world of politics, and probably not, right? Common sense. You make it now worse for me as an investor. You make it worse for me to sell. Then I would go, well, why would I sell? Why don't you make it better? Why don't you make it better? There are places around the world that that have gotten rid of capital gains tax in that sense when it comes to property, and that encouraged more people sold after that because they could capitalize, take the money, recycle that cash into the economy. Now there you go. It's crazy, right? Yeah, I think you're right, Brendan. At the end of the day, it's all a bit of hot air and sunshine right now. It's not going to fix. It will not fix anything. It won't fix it. And A few of them are stomping around to see if they can win some votes. That's politics, folks, sadly, unfortunately. There's no vision. There's no spine in our political leadership. And maybe we're to blame. Maybe we're voting the wrong Muppets in. Anyway, there you go. PPR upgrade strategy, SMSF, you're dead right, Jeff. There's plenty of ways to keep your wealth going. All right, I love it. But probably the gist of it today is that, negative gearing, if they do get rid of negative gearing, you and I need to be, let's just say they do, and there might be a small chance of it, reduction of negative gearing. Anyway, in 2018, they reduced the chattels in negative gearing and property to zero already. So, second owned property, you can't claim the value of the chattels, right? So I don't know if you guys have seen that either. So, now on your property, that's already in place. So, that's something that, no one's talking about. Anyway, I'm dribbling on now. The point is, team, if negative gearing does go away, which I don't think it will, what do we need to understand to understand and do? Well, we need to make sure we've got our buffers tucked away. And I reckon it would take 24 months for that malarkey to kind of shock the system. And the rents would absolutely skyrocket. The rents would skyrocket as you go along. So that's what would happen. But anyway, have some buffers, navigate as you go along. And folks, the uncertainty of this stuff, don't let it stop you. Yeah, that's right, Luke. That's right. Don't let it stop you investing, because at the end of the day, you've just got to play the game as it is right now and navigate some of those changes a bit later on. Anyway, there you go. That's it. Wealth Coffee Chat done and dusted for today. As you go along. All right. That's it from me. Done and dusted, team. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Join tomorrow. We'll be hanging out. I'll be down in Melbourne hanging out with Andy Fenton, and we can do it again tomorrow. Anyway, I'll press the right button this time. This is the outro, not the intro, but see you tomorrow. All right, folks. Bye for now. Episode of Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing when we go live. Improve your portfolio and investing game, folks, with Wealth Coffee Chats live every morning at 8:10 each weekday. Make sure you join us. Previous episodes are also available wherever you get your podcasts, folks, as well as our